Hi. Okay, so I started to pin the binding on my quilt. You're going to leave a space for when we attach both ends of the binding here. So what you want to do is pin 6-8 inches away from your starting point. It's about, it's 8 inches. So I put a pin down here, and this is where I'm going to start to sew. You're not going to sew at the start of your binding because we have to attach it to the other side when we get there. So we'll start down here, but what you want to do is pin the open side of your already ironed binding to the open side of your quilt. Okay? So your closed or folded side of the binding is facing inward towards the inside of your quilt, if you see. So this is your folded side, and this is your open side where your two pieces meet. Okay, so what we're going to do is start sewing. We're going to sew 1/4 inch on the binding, putting it on your quilt, and then when we come to the corner, I'll show you how to do the mitered corner. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to start here at this pin. You're going to go in 1/4 inch and start sewing. And you can take your pins out as you go. I usually take my pins out and add them to, because I don't have all my binding pinned on. But I just usually go to the corner first, and then I miter the corners, and then I pin some more. So it just makes it easier to do that way. Okay. Sometimes I like to check, make sure everything's getting sewn in the way it should be. If you see it puckering, you can pull the fabric a little tighter, or take your seam ripper and try to lay it flat here. Sometimes it'll start to pucker. So just hold it tight while you're sewing it. And sometimes I don't get it quite straight, so I'm going to go back here and redo this. Okay, make sure your quilt's straightened out. Here's a little squeaky. You can probably hear that. Alright. I just like to check and make sure the fabric is all getting caught in there and that's not, you know, sometimes you miss it, or yeah, you just want to make sure you're doing it, getting it all caught where it should be, because if it's not, and you say there's a, you know, you didn't get a piece or it got mushed up in here because you didn't have it sewed correctly, then you can rip that out and resew it and catch that fabric in there. So you want to make sure everything's in line and you're getting it all caught underneath your binding. Okay, so here we are at the corner. What we want to do is we're going to make a mitered corner. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I'm going to sew it to about 1/4 of an inch to the edge. And if you go too far, you can take it out, but I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch. Okay, you can back stitch it so it'll hold. And then some people don't cut their thread, but I. And then you turn your quilt and okay, so you have a little bit of fabric left here at the edge. If it seems like there's a little bit too much, you can continue to sew it a little bit more. I think I might need to. Maybe not. But you want to make sure you're going to be able to have room to fold it into a mitered corner. See how there's a flap? You're going to fold it up into a corner like this at the corner of your quilt, if you can tell what I did here. And then you're going to fold that flap over flat so that it's even and it's nice and squared off. Okay, so here's your flap. You're flipping it over this way, and it's going to be even like that. And then you're going to continue to sew along the edge, 1/4 of an inch in. But first you're going to pin it so it will hold. I'm going to pin it over here on the edge. And then I'm going to also put a pin over here. So it looks like that. And then you're going to sew along the edge, 1/4 of an inch, okay? So I'm going to take and start sewing. And you can back stitch here. Okay. Even sometimes when I iron my binding, I don't always exactly get it perfect, so I have to adjust it. All right, so I sewed a little bit down to back stitch. Needle up. I'll just cut the thread off so I can show you. Okay, so here we have our sewn corner. I'm going to take the pin out and then we're going to look at it. If you can flip it over and it looks like a mitered corner, I'm not doing this good, am I? Okay, so here's our mitered corner. If if you can take it and flip it over, and you have this fabric caught sewn in where it should be, and then when you take it to the back side, if you can flip it over and make a nice little mitered corner back here when you're done, because that's what we're going to do to sew it to the back, then you did it correctly. If it looks like a nice little mitered corner when you fold it over, you did it correctly. So that's what it looks like after you've unfolded. If you understand what I'm saying here. Okay, I'm gonna cut that string off. All right, so here is your mitered corner. All right, and then when we take it to the back and we attach it to the back side, it's gonna look like that. That's what it's gonna look like. Okay, I'm gonna continue on sewing the rest of my binding, and I'm gonna do my other mitered corners, and then I'll show you how to flip it around, and we're going to hand stitch it on the back. Okay? I'll talk to you later. Bye.